And good morning, good evening, and good morning and good evening to you all. And I'm really happy to have you here. And so today is November 22nd. Oh, my stars, where's the year going? And I'm really happy to welcome you to today's ambassador call because we have Sister Martha Ann Kirk with us for calling in from San Antonio, Texas, and we are waiting on Nicole Foy to join us. She's the executive director of the Women's Global Connections organization that Martha introduced us to. And I have to tell you, when I started looking at the website, Martha reached out to me just last week or this week. Yeah, just this week, right? And said, I remember you telling me you were interested about this organization back when we were in CIT training together. And the time is now to introduce you to Nicole. And when I went and looked around the website, I was profoundly struck by our commonalities. Our commonalities in that, oh, here's Nicole.
Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. You know what? This is how we roll.
Okay.
I got to talk to Africa before you came. I haven't been in Malawi.
You'll get a chance to talk to Africa too. And by the way, Jeffrey, you are representing the entire continent. So, well, Nicole, we're so happy that you're here, and I guarantee you others will be popping in later too. So you are not late. You were on time that worked for you. So all you missed me say was like a sentence on how I was profoundly struck by the commonalities between what Women's Global Connections are doing and what the Charter for Compassion's vision and goals are as it relates to the women and girls sector. Your bullet points, your concise vision statement that you appreciate and celebrate diversity. As an interfaith activist, I could really appreciate that. I know many of you are as well. You value storytelling and action. And boy, that's what women are about, frankly, right? We gather in circle, we talk, and we do. And how we do is entirely up to us and our passions, but we do. And here at the Charter, compassion is the filter in which we do our work through, yet it doesn't, no two actions look alike. And but most exciting, and I think it was the top of your list, is that the power comes from our participants, and you are meeting those participants this morning. And that's why the ambassador program was developed, to give voice to and participation opportunity. And we're not asking anybody to do anything different than they're already doing. Just do it with us as well. Include us, and we include you. And so our ambassadors are the real leaders of our sector. In fact, when the sector was begun, the only thing I was asked to do was to keep the framework of the sector, the scaffolding structure to what the other 11 sectors look like. So I took absolute liberty and advantage of that opportunity, because women just do things differently. And Brescia is just smiling ear to ear, because you give a blank slate and a bunch of colored pens to a woman, and she's going to develop a beautiful picture for her community. And that's what this responsibility offered here. And yet everything we filled in the scaffolding, how we filled in the rooms of the sector, all comes from what you're looking at here and more. We have 107 ambassadors around the world. Not everybody shows up on calls. As a matter of fact, about an average of 5 to 7 or 8 do on an average basis. And, some come and go, and so, it's an ebb and flow of some stay for a while and go and come back. But they all communicate by way of email, or we know what they're doing, or send me what they're doing in the community, because they're also our partners. So I wanted to give you kind of a lay of the land, a little bit of the landscape of, kind of a high level of who we are, but every one of the faces you see here are doing what they do and are passionate about in their communities on their own and in their own way through their own organizations and or helping to really develop what we're doing here. I have 2 reports. Then we're going to hear from everybody. They have all promised to give a very concise introduction, and then they can share more after we hear from both of you. I'm going to report on the Beat 2020 webinar series. Nicole, the architect of this webinar series was developed by Joan Marie, who I'm hoping she'll be able to join us this morning. And about 6 or 7 years ago, on a different organizational call, Joan shared with me that 2020 is coming and it's time for a new perspective on what's ahead. It's a time for crystal clear vision for 2020 moving forward, respecting where we've come from, but now we're going knowing this power that we are infused with now. And so this is a every 6-week webinar series, beginning with, we're hoping, I just put out a letter of introduction to Rianne Eisler, who has spoken on our previous webinar call after, gosh, that was back in 2016 and 17. Yet we've asked her to talk about how did we get here, which is actually the first chapter of one of her recent books, Sacred Pleasures, talking about the systemic root of how we got to where we are today, and then moving us systematically into gender reconciliation, into our power, into the goddess archetype, and moving onward through a really systematic, thoughtful series that Donna, Brenda, Sarah, and others that are not on this call are part of that task force. So we're all very excited about that. Also, something that I did not mention in my email, but I want to let you know that the Golden Rule, which is April 5th, is coming, and the Charter for Compassion hosts, if you remember from the last 2 years, a 24-hour marathon of calls starting in Japan and moving all around the world with the clock, and doing vignettes and video calls, a 24-hour seamless call, but different folks talking about what the Golden Rule means to them. And so I asked if I could do something a little different. I am the disruptor of the charter, and interview a number of our ambassadors. And we're going to be looking, and now the whole charter is going to be doing this. Here's the Sustainable Development Goals. And now looking at finding somebody in our ambassadors who represent each one of the goals. So whether it's the environment, whether it's poverty, ending poverty, or quality education, or equality for all. And we're going to hit all of the 17, but you'll hear more about the 18th goal on another call. So expect an email from me, everybody, because I need a 2 or 3 minute vignette, and you all hit the mark. So hopefully you contribute to that video. We'll do it we leverage the heck out of Zoom here. We do everything through Zoom. We do our video record conferences. Zoom actually gifted us a full-on platform for women and girls only, because of the work that we're doing. So yeah, we lucked out there. I didn't say it, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I would love for our ambassadors to introduce themselves to you, and then I can't wait for them to hear from you. So let's see who was first here. Jeffrey in Malawi. I can't wait for you, Nicole, to hear what Jeffrey is doing on behalf of girls and women.
Thank you, Sandy, for the space. I just want to quickly introduce myself. And as first part, I will just share a little bit about what we are doing and to give the space to everyone to come in. As you said earlier, my name is Geoffrey Manasseh. I come from Malawi, southern part of Africa. Basically, I come in to be an ambassador of Charter for Compassion, especially to learn what you are doing and to have an idea on how to strengthen what you are doing. Now in Malawi, what we are doing is to look into girls' education. Firstly, we are looking into the hygienic and sanitary parts for the girls. because we realized that many of them, they are missing 7 days per week, per month, without attending classes because of isolation. And this has been prompting many of them to go into early marriages because of the poverty and other things. So I've just born unique. That's what I said, because I like most to be part of the solution, not just to analyze the problem. Then what I did is to join a like-minded team so that I can see the better way on how we can take the girls to school, back to school. I'm happy to report to you that this week, last week, we have just opened the second washroom, which gives girls to change and doing whatever they can there. We have fixed showers, and also the mirror glasses for them to check everywhere. And we had a fundraising system so that we provide a soap to at least to get a bath whenever they prefer to do that. Then they attended classes. I'm also happy to say that through our friends in UK, she managed to donate us to our women extra cotton to make some reusable parts so that we can still buy from them and deliver to needy girls. And as I'm said, we are now pushing very towards to that end to see many girls attending the classes. And I hope we are doing very well our part. Yeah, I think I have to stop there before I give 2 quick projects which we're also having towards the girls. Yeah, thank you.
Jeffrey, thank you so much. And please send me information about the organization that's gotten you that cotton. That would be really helpful for me, because maybe they can help us get these kits to you from the United States. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Your voice will be heard again. Thank you so much. Risha.
Good morning, everybody. This is Brisha from San Diego, California. And just briefly, I am the founder of the Women's Woven Voices Project, which is an international collaborative art project that invites women to write, weave, and share their stories. Women weave an individual little story cloth, and then I stitch it together into a tapestry. And currently the tapestry is about 25 feet long. There's about 200 women who have woven their story. And the tapestry's been exhibited in maybe half a dozen different international conferences, art events, the Visionary Summit, political events, the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, et cetera, et cetera. This last weekend, I had a workshop here in San Diego for a group of women who are refugees from Syria and Iraq. And we met with a local art organization and also in conjunction with Compassionate Arts to have them participate in the project, to weave their story cloths, to gather in small groups and share their stories. And in the meantime, Compassionate Arts was creating an art project for their 50 kids that were in tow. Because when you have moms, you have kids. And it was a tremendous success. So next week, I'm going to be meeting again with them to pick up their story cloths and weave them into, or stitch them into the tapestry. So I think that's just what I wanted to share this morning. So thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, Donna, you are next on the call.
Elaine was.
Oh, okay. Elaine, thank you. I love the generosity and hospitality we share. Elaine, hi, Elaine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Elaine Christine, and I host the World Peace Telesummit. This was our 5th year, so we're really looking forward to next year, inviting everybody on the call. And I'm really excited about the intersection of faith and girls. So I think that the youth is really our future. And so I'm all about educating them. And I lead the religion, spirituality, and interfaith sector for the Charter of Compassion. So I'll put my charter partner link in the chat box and you can learn more about me then. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. You reminded me, Elaine, after this call, I'll send the recording out to everybody along with all of your links and any mentions on today's call. Yeah. Thank you, Elaine. I do believe you're next, Donna.
Okay, I'll go now. Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Mills. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. In fact, I'm sitting in my brand new kitchen. Pardon my little drippy nose this morning. I'm sitting in my new kitchen with my bedrooms all unpacked. I've been in a transition for the last 3.5 months, and I'm a little bit settled now, so that feels really good. And since I've been here for 3.5 months, I've gotten involved with, first of all, I'm a holistic health practitioner. I work with, I've been doing massage therapy for 22 years, and it's kind of morphed into, I do a body-centered healing and wellness session that deals with grief and pain and trauma, PTSD, people that are really stuck through experiences that they have. So I help them move forward in their life and become more vibrant and well. So what I'm doing in Coeur d'Alene is in the 3.5 months I've been here, I have connected with an organization called Love Lives Here Coeur d'Alene. If you know anything about the Northern Idaho area, there's been a history of white supremacy up here, and it kind of died down for a while after the leader of the Aryan nations died, but it's seeing a resurgence up here right now. And so Love Lives Here Coeur d'Alene was started by a woman in town. Her name escapes me, but she did that in part to meet that white supremacy behavior with love. And we also have, because of the prior years and decades of history up here, in response to the hate behavior up here and activity, there's the Human Rights Education Institute was started here in Coeur d'Alene, and then also recently a beautiful woman named Jessica, who I met last week, started an organization called the Civil Engagement Alliance. And what I've done with those 3 organizations is had a meeting last week with the invitation to come together collectively and start a compassionate Coeur d'Alene. And so that's a long process, but we're all looking at the framework and what would that take for us to designate ourselves as compassionate Coeur d'Alene. So that's my first job in Coeur d'Alene, and get a peace poll up. I'm gonna get a peace poll. So
Yeah. Okay, great.
Because we're in the Pacific Northwest, I want English on there and then all the native languages.
I did that. You have to send them in writing. They don't have them, but if you send them the writing, mine's actually right here, and I have a Hesheman on ours. Thank you. And I don't want to, you did not say that you're the caring economy advocate and a certified partnership practitioner. And that's Brianne Eisler's work, the Center for Partnership Studies. Yeah, really important. That's where I met Donna. Thanks, Donna. Thanks. Okay, I can't remember Brenda or Sarah. So how about Sarah? Sorry, Brenda. I don't remember which one of you came in next. So. Oh.
Yeah.
All good. Thank you. So I am Sarah Jamil, and I am in Toronto, Canada, and I I founded an organization called Compassion First, and what I do is I've included my 2 daughters in the work, 22 and 11. So we are actually kind of including the girls already as leaders, and that's what I'm seeing the power of. So what we're doing is we're trying to offer. First of all, I'm a weaver, big time globally. Like, I really try to see how I can partner with all the initiatives that fall under this Women and Girls umbrella and bring the global work locally. And that's sort of the framework that I'm using when I create. So I call them empowering experiences. I don't want to lock it in to say it's just, one specific thing, but what I focus on is women's self-empowerment, well-being, and then sisterhood. Those are the three components, all through the lens of compassion, hence the name of my organization. So that's a very brief introduction, and I'm very excited about the partnerships and collaborations that are happening with other women and girls ambassadors. That's it for me.
And I forgot to mention that Sarah's daughter Maha, who just graduated university, is actually helping us recreate our logo for the V2020 series. So we're really grateful for that. Sorry I didn't mention that earlier. Hi, Brenda.
Hi there. Had to move out of that sunlight. Good morning. So I'm in Northern California. I'm the co-lead for Women and Girls sector for Charter for Compassion. And I came into working with the charter and a organization here, a couple of organizations where we brought Sacramento to become a compassionate city. I have the resolution signed by the mayor last year. And I also, at the same time, got involved with the Shift Network in creating the Visionary Summit, which I had the pleasure of seeing Brisha attend this last year with her tapestry. So I work with, like I said, a local organization that helped to become a compassionate city. And so we have an organization now called Chill, but I was originally with Mercy Springs Foundation and working with the International Day of Peace and Peace Pulse. And then through this met Sandy and ended up going to the Parliament, which was fabulous, where I met Sarah. And Brisha, you were there in spirit because she sent 200 of her kits. And so we did an event just opening before the Parliament with 200 women to help women come into their bodies, so to anchor their voice. So I have a healing center, and I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor. So I work through Temple through the work of Swami Yukteswar and Paramahansa Yogananda. And then I take that work also through the eyes of the physiology of the body and the brain into UC Med Center and work with patients and doctors and staff. And then I have a healing center. So then Sandy and I formatted an organization called Alchemy Productions. And so we come in and do circle work with people and bring women into their voices. And I recently had an experience which was at the Visionary Summit, which is called Grief, Gratitude, and Gateway. And what that does is help us to move through grief with gratitude and then into the gateways of higher consciousness, to recognize that we're really planetarily, we're grieving in mass. So I just met with Marin of the Tree Sisters, and there's just a lot of things happening. So I just keep on following the next step and doing what's best for us to create in community. And I love this community. And Jeffrey, I can't wait to share with you who I talked with yesterday, who just adores you. So anyway.
Besides us, right? Besides us. Thank you, Brenda. And Brenda was speaking about the Parliament of the World's Religions. I don't know if either you or Nicole were at the Parliament. Oh boy, it'd be a great place. And the next one, I recommend you go and.
I was at the one in Salt Lake.
Okay, that was our first Alchemy event that Brenda wasn't at, but I was part of Alchemy of Women's. It was something along the lines of on feminine ground, the alchemy of our collective power. And then I reached out to my co-organizers for that when Toronto happened, the next Parliament, and said, can we do this again? They said, you go do it. And then I roped in Brenda, which wasn't hard to do. And so let's do this. And we completely blew open the doors. 200 women. Brisha sent me a full suitcase full of weaving kits that everybody went home with. And it was really quite remarkable, especially with the insurgents, the power, the uprising of women of the Parliament. Half of the Parliament were women. We had a wait list for people to get on into our room of 200. So yeah, it was quite amazing. Any rate,
And as synchronicity has it too, what was lovely is Sarah ended up in the circle I was in. And it was amazing, you know.
I think that's where we met Sarah. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for your introductions. I think that I'm here. I'm in service to you all. I'm the founder of a women's interfaith organization. I started the initiative to create an 18th Sustainable Development Goal on personal awareness and I beg your pardon, self-awareness and personal agency called SDG 18. And my cheering team is right here in this room with us, and pushing me along to do something with it, in which we just launched something, and I'll be sharing that with you in an email and in a report. But I'm not going to take any more time. I've done so much talking here already, and now we want to hear from our guests. I did have Martha Ann, Sister Martha Ann, and Nicole, first Martha Ann and then Nicole on our agenda to speak, but I want to check in on time because I failed to mention that our calls go an hour and a half, and that's a big deal if you're planning to be on a call and you're busy, as I bet both of you are. So are both of you okay on timing? Who would it be better if one of you went first? What do you think? I'll leave that up to you.
Nicole, why don't you give an overview of Women's Global Connection and Girls Global Summit first?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you,
Nicole. Yes, Sister Martha and I work very, very closely, so we kind of finish each other's sentences, so that will work out just fine anyway. Yes, Women's Global Connection is a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 and in San Antonio, but we're very much global to local the way we work. It's a ministry of the Sisters of Charity of the Incarnate Word, and I'm sorry I got here late, and you probably already know that Sister Martha Ann is, no, you don't. Sister Martha Ann is a Incarnate Word sister, so she has been doing this work a lot longer than I have, and knew and was very close to our co-founder, Sister Dorothy Etling, began this work really in the early 2000s, and had been working as a professor at University of Incarnate Word in San Antonio, which we share land with. We're right next to their campus, and so began thinking about ways to really, I love the words that y'all are all using, weave together everything that she was learning and knew about, and was working in conjunction with students regarding entrepreneurship, strengthening economic capacity, and really reaching women and girls in a global capacity. So I think it was a column by Kofi Annan that really struck her one day when she read in the New York Times about women suffering from HIV in sub-Saharan Africa. And so she really began praying about this and thinking on ways that she could get connected with women's groups. And through the internet and starting to talk with some of her friends at the United Nations, got plugged in with a group in Tanzania. And it was a group of women who had they called it a merry-go-round, which is M-A-R-Y, merry-go-round. And it was a prayer circle of 8 women who were really interested in learning more about microfinance. They didn't have any of their own businesses, but knew that they could strengthen their families' lives if they did. And so Sister Dot began traveling over there just to begin listening and learning, and spent a good year or two going back and forth trying to figure out in what ways she could help with the resources that she had in San Antonio, and really began getting other faculty members enthused about this, and students enthused about this. And the group of 8 women who were really just part of this prayer group in Bukoba, Tanzania. Now we have been traveling there every year since 2001. And that group is now at a group of 1,500 women in many different villages who are doing microfinance. The program has now been named after our co-founder, Sister Dorothy Etling. They run a bakery, they run a soy farm, they employ men at a soy mill. They couldn't own their own land in the first because, you know, they weren't allowed. But that was the first project of Women's Global Connection. And now we work in addition to Tanzania, in Kenya. A lot of the women in Tanzania are doing the Train the Trainer program and have traveled to Kenya and work with women specifically on water. They're building their own water harvesters. With some grants that we've helped link them to. So we're all about capacity building. And I know that is speaking your language too, but it's about helping build capacity through education and leadership. And Kenya, Tanzania, we worked in Zambia for a while. We're not currently working there. We also work in Peru, and we're starting to really look at Mexico. And then San Antonio, the thing that we're getting ready for right now and we're most excited about is every year we do a Girls Global Summit, which is the one-day event, but that also just kind of is a cherry on top of this experience where 16 to 20 girls leadership interns design this summit themselves. They're high schoolers. So it's a competitive internship. We choose them, and then they have the whole school year to design and create and implement this one-day Girls Global Summit that up to 400 girls from all over San Antonio come to. And that is going to be February 15th, and we're very excited about that. Sister Martha Ann got to spend some time with our interns the other day and took them through a tour of our our inner city west side and some of these amazing murals that mostly women are creating to talk about our communities. So, you know, it's really exciting to see these young women get involved in this way. And, you know, a lot of them are already signed on to projects about menstrual health. We're going to run a period pad drive as part of our Girls Global Summit. I know you talked a little bit about menstrual health earlier. We had in Kenya, we are piloting a project with Hello Cup, which is a New Zealand company right now, with the menstrual cups. So, I mean, all of what you all are talking about, we are excited about too.
Wow, that's stunning. I'm really excited to hear about your work in more detail, and have a quick question for you, and maybe others do too, and then we can hear, maybe best to move right on to Martha Ann, and then we can all ask our questions. But this is a burning question for me. Where do the girls come from? Where do you find the girls to lead the summit?
Sure. We market the internship, and we have partnerships with schools and educators, and we're pretty well known now that we've been doing the summit. I want to say we're probably in our 8th year of doing the summit, 8th or 9th year of doing this summit, and so we have a lot of relationships now in the city.
So real quickly, the structure of the Charter for Compassion is really, our story is the cities of compassion and our partners. Mm-hmm. So we have a city of compassion in San Antonio, Compassion in San Antonio. Right. And you heard Brenda say that she is a co-lead of a regional co-lead for Sacramento. And we're looking for a representative out of the city initiative, which would be a phenomenal connection for you, because we've got such a vast network, and there's a whole ecosystem within a city of compassion to tap into. That, you know, they're right there in your city. You're probably standing next to somebody in line at the market that you would want to know about one another. So I
want to come in on the conversation.
We know each other. Yeah.
It's all you. Go ahead, Sister Martha Ann.
All right.
Yeah.
Either 11 or 12 years old, 12 years ago, because I am basically a religious studies professor at the University of the Incarnate Word, and before that I was in the art department. So I'm absolutely loving meeting people so far, because so many of you are mentioning arts, mentioning religion, compassion. So I just feel like I'm best of all possible groups right now. So thank you. So about 11 or 12 years ago, I knew Karen Armstrong as an excellent religion writer. And she gave the TED Talk saying the golden rule, compassion could unify us. And then for maybe a year or so, she was gathering people. I was not able to go to gatherings, but I, online was hooked up with the development of the charter. Then there was an announcement that the charter was going to go out to the world on a day in November. And as a religious studies teacher, I told one of my classes, the Arts for Worship class, that they needed to get people of many different faiths in our city to come together, and we were going to listen to them talk about compassion in Sikhism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity. I don't know, maybe there were more, but we had a good number of speakers, and my students were decorating the room with olive branches, with paper cranes, remembering the story of Sadako and the paper cranes. And one of my graduate students was a drummer, and so we were drumming and marching and listening to the importance of compassion in these great religions of the world. And online, we were seeing the wonderful 4-minute charter for compassion with the people, the children speaking it. And then I had printed out a large charter, and all the people in the room were signing it. And, if you're interested, we got a school newspaper article on it and all of these pictures. Well, among those listening were the Peace Center people in the city of San Antonio. Now, the Peace Center is a little ragtag group of people that has never really had any money, mostly women, led by Reverend Ann Helmke, a Lutheran minister who is fantastically creative. And she was in the graduate Justice and Peace program that I was the co-director of our college university Masters in Justice and Peace in the 80s and the early 90s. But unfortunately, we couldn't get enough students to make it financially realistic to have a graduate program in Justice and Peace. Well, what I love about Anne is creativity and resiliency. And I say this to all of you because we have a failed program. We have a program we can't support. We try to do such and such, and it doesn't work out. Be resilient, grieve, get up, keep going. So when our program dissolved in '94, Anne and friends said, okay, we are the San Antonio Peace Center. And so we've got a website. We tell the stories of nonviolence on the website. Susan Ives has been awesome keeping the website growing. So they decide there is going to be the San Antonio Peace Laureate, and they invent that in January they are going to announce the laureate for the year. They're going to invite people. They're going to hold up role models. So they also get the idea that will invite people every month of the year to have a program about the Charter for Compassion. So anyway, in the 1860s or in the 1800s, a tenth of the city of San Antonio was dying of cholera and other plagues. If you were rich, you could get a doctor to come to your home and take care of you. But if you were middle class or poor, there wasn't any sort of public health care in the city of San Antonio. So a few young women came from France. They were the first Sisters of Charity of the Incarnate Word. They started a clinic which became a hospital called Santa Rosa for St. Rose, first saint of the Americas. So I am in a wonderful group. You know, a tenth of the population is dying. They start to provide health care. Well, then there are orphans left. They take care of the orphans. Then the orphans need education. They start teaching them. So in 2013, I and the Incarnate Word Sisters were called the San Antonio Peace Laureates. And every month of the year, there was a compassion program. The Baha'is had a compassion program. The largest synagogue had a compassion program. In the largest mosque, we had a compassion program. I do dance, I do drama, I do visual art. At our university, we were dancing for compassion. I'll give you the link to me leading a circle dance for refugees. So anyway, also behind the scenes, we kept pushing. We need to be a city of compassion. You know, I was writing all the city council members. I was writing the mayor. Our Peace Center people are resilient. No money, no time, but we're volunteers. And so finally, in the summer of 2016, we got our new mayor and city council to sign on. We are an official city of compassion. We also happen to be a sister city with Monterrey, Mexico. And then I'll do a little parentheses. As an Incarnate Word sister, we've got a huge hospital in Monterey. It's doing outreach to poor areas, clinics in poor areas. We've got a school in Monterey, first grade through high school. So then Anne Helmke kept working to influence the city. And now we have what we call a faith-based office in the city of San Antonio. Anne has a mailing list of 900 churches, synagogues, nonprofits, and we've got a wonderful network, sacrd.org. And that is all sorts of nonprofits. And on the web, if you type in a zip code of our city, then you could say, is there food? Is there healthcare? Is there shelter for the homeless? Are there educational resources? So, wow, I am in the midst of these compassionate networks. So we have something called Compassion Net SA, that's San Antonio, and on the website are all of these stories of compassionate action, stories for us to encourage each other. So, wow, I am working with Women's Global Connection, Girls Global Summit. I am in the classroom showing the Charter for Compassion to every single one of my classes right now. You know, my Religious Quest class. How are you getting involved? How are you participating in compassionate projects? And a latest thing I am working with is our service civic engagement center, getting more and more and more university professors, getting their students into compassionate projects. And in San Antonio, we have something called SA 2020. And for the last 10 years as a city, we have been tracking. How are we doing in sustainability? How are we doing in education? So I'm working with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SA 2020, tracking things in our city, but I am most energized working with Nicole because, as you people know, a big key is feminine energy, freeing the feminine energy. So I'm a nun. You could say Catholic sisters are trapped in the patriarchy of the Catholic Church. No, we're not trapped. We are subversive. We sort of ignore the patriarchs and go to compassion and feminine energy. Thank you for letting me talk.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I had no idea. And by the way, Sister Martha Ann, I was wrong. I said it was Houston that did it was Ann. I've known Ann since about 2015.
Yes, yes.
And I met, no, actually, 2015 in Louisville, then again in San Francisco. I go where the charter goes, and so does she. So we would always find each other there. Extraordinary work, but that pre-election, the 11/8, it was held on 11/8/2016 before the election was, or 7th, before the election was announced, or the results of the election were announced. That we were talking about earlier on the call before everybody got here. That was not Houston, it was San Antonio, and it was Ann.
Yes.
So I am sorry. So you can see the value. We're always looking for a connection point, a bridge into every city of compassion. So if there's anybody in your circles that you think, if not yourselves, I know you're both very busy, to join us Fridays or update us on what you're doing on behalf of compassionate women and girls, it helps us. Yet these calls, which are usually a lot more loose, and we and this is pretty loose as it is, we really find some collective power here in problem solving and ideas, and as well as being inspired. I am so inspired by you. Thank you. I'm going to invite anybody to ask any questions now or make any comments. Yeah.
I have a question, but before I go there, I just want to go further with my clarity. Anyway, I catch 3 points when Martha was speaking. Really, she melted my heart, definitely, because she touched good areas, like to look into education of the girls, of which we are also inside. Also, they have been having some sort of measures in terms of microfinancing and other things, which is also important. I just want to further share with you people, plus Martha, that last time, I think Sunday, you might have corrected me if I'm wrong, but I sent in a document to say, for sustainability, as Martha said, it's good to know how to sustain the project. And for the sustainability, our women have been struggling enough to have beehives. Remember, to have beehives, because it's not good to rely on the shoulders of other people, but it's good to look into how to fuel our finance ourselves. Then, up to now, we only have 2 hives, and we have not yet hung out of 40, which we are planning to set on. Then, I just want to learn from Martha. If they partner with other organizations, which criteria do they look? Do they consider some Southern African part? Because I learned that they partner with Kenya, which is our, we share a border with Kenya. No, Tanzania. we share borders. We are just closer. But Tanzania is the eastern part of Africa. We are at the southern part of Africa. Then, can they consider to partner with us, or what criteria do they follow to have any partners? Plus that, I just want to learn from Martha or someone around. Do we have some measures, or do we have some criteria to look into microfinancing? Because we are still struggling, as I said, to have such kind of project of beehives. And as of, oh, there is another voice coming in. I'm somehow confused. Do you get me?
No, we
Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. With the further of that, before Martha come in, I just want to further share to say, in our community, Coos Bay, we have set the bylaws with the chief and other development communities to say we don't want to see girls dropping out of schools because of early marriage and other things. And it's very unfortunate that these bylaws come in to strengthen girls, while 29 girls are already in trap, you see. Then what we did, we have write a letter for the fundraising to have in hotels and lodges, to have in the fundraising for the girls to go back in separate classes, so that we doesn't leave any stone unturned. I think you get my point. So for this to happen, we still need a certain system to fuel our programs in a way that we should not waiting for the donors to come in, but we can at least have our own finance moving to help the teachers, stationery, and other things the 4 years to see them having qualification. So we need to have good partners around who can come in with ideas, with microfinancing, even in partnership, because that can help us also to learn what you are doing. So that's the question and the point which I want to put in place. Thank you.
I'm going to give a short answer, then I want Nicole to pick up on this. When Women's Global Connection started, it was completely online, and we did online dialogues, posting, for example, Palestinian women, Israeli women, and my students would do dialogues online, furthering peace and understanding. But also, Women's had a lot of online training, like university professors at our place giving online training workshops to women in Africa. And we haven't done a lot of that lately, but I think it's a very helpful way to start things. Now, Nicole, I want to give it over to you about how Women's Global Connection starts a partnership with people in a new place or new country.
Right. Well, and you know, we are trying this year to reinvigorate using Zoom and other types of things, our training programs and the connections, because we do immersion trips to certain places, the ones that I've named, and we work with our existing partners, but really it's about training the trainer, and once that capacity is built, then looking for new partners. And Jeffrey, I was wanting to perhaps even to talk one-on-one with you a little bit about some of those needs, because you were breaking up a little bit for me. But you know, the best people to talk to are people who've been through this, like the women's group. It's called the Bukoba Women's Empowerment Association, that has grown, like I said, in Tanzania from 8 women to now over 1,000 women. And the leadership of that program is very strong. And so, you know, we're over here talking about capacity building and training and education. They're doing these things in the field and have been for a decade. So I would love to maybe set up a call with us and with the leaders of Bawea and talk a little bit about some of the projects that you're talking about. I think that's always the communication and collaboration with the technology that we have is the first step.
I'm trying to unmute you, Jeffrey. I don't know if you can unmute your. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the point. I get the point, and it's so strong to me because we have a women hub within our organization, and that I think that can also help enough to have like online trainings and mentorship that will help.
I'll put you both in touch so you can continue the conversation, but that sounds like a really great opportunity to connect with the women's organization in Tanzania that can further possibly explore the possibilities or share with you what they're doing in the way of microfinancing, possibly as well, because I heard that as well. It was you're breaking up a little bit there, Jeffrey, but I definitely heard you asking about microfinancing opportunities, especially around your Beehive initiative for self-sustainability. So perhaps that conversation can extend into that. I'm not really, I hope I didn't miss anything in the translation, but I'll connect you two immediately after this email. After this call and email, all right?
Okay.
I wanted to mention too, thank you. It's wonderful to hear the growth of everything that's happened, Martha, the history, and then what you've been able to create with Nicole and the others. Thank you. It's exciting. It's nice to hear, and congratulations on becoming a compassionate city. Jeffrey, I wanted to mention, and this, maybe Nicole is aware of this person, but I was speaking with Barry Bear yesterday, Reverend Barry Bear. She said she knows you quite well. She came down and visited, and when she was with the URI. And anyway, she mentioned, she wanted me to mention to you Belinda Simpson from the
Yes.
UK. Okay, and are you aware of her program and what her husband has supplied to
Yes,
there? So I'll just say the sewing machines in order for women to make their own sani pads.
Yes, I'm aware. And as I said, I'm a coordinator of Malawi URI, United Religious Initiative. So Belinda, when she came to Malawi, she visited us and we set up the program. She's far much interested about sanitary pads to help our girls with that. And that's why earlier this call I said we had some cottons and other clothes from that side to help with our women sewing it. So the ideology is to have those pads and selling to our girls at the affordable price. So that's why last time we managed to buy that. And I'm aware of that. Currently, we have some 2 CCs who are having machine and the materials. Yeah, so we are just setting the fundraising in different areas so that we might raise money to buy the pads and the share to our girls. Yeah.
So there were only 2 machines?
Yes, 2 machines. One is electric and the other one is manual, and the cloth itself. So that's our women now, they are busy making that to sell. Yeah, but basically if you look into how the cloth is, the prices of the cloth in Malawi, our women are not making any profit at all. It's just a matter of supporting girls to go back to school, because sometimes they spend 50,000 Malawi kwacha, that is, and when selling it, they sell up to maybe 39,000 or 35,000, and plus they add soap to provide them. So it's a matter of charity issue just within the ideology of the system. Yeah, but I'm so aware of that, and frankly, we are supported enough because things are slowly happening and changing more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention that because she wanted me to, and I just keep working on different angles to help. I'm still kind of meandering through the AMA organization because they also AMA created a sustainable program for the women who were caught in the tsunami a few years ago, and they've been doing quite well. So anyway, that's enough for this call. We'll keep on, just letting you know, keep on
Thank you, Brenda. And I echo Brenda's, but Jeffrey, thank you so much for sharing your needs here, and everybody is always invited to help find sustainable solutions for you, and we often do, and or get ourselves closer to a solution collectively, and that's the beauty of your open hearts and the divine feminine that's here right now. And to that point, I'd like to echo Brenda's point or comment about how beautifully you've grown and what you've shared, Martha Ann, in that you know, you came in with one intention and it unfolded and flowered and kept emerging. You kept following the yes. You kept saying, oh, okay, that's what needs to happen now. That's what's happened here at the women and girls sector, because we've left opportunities, the door open for opportunities, right? Same thing happened with Sarah, our women's interfaith group, and we're still going strong 17 years later. So it's really beautiful to see how you've grown and grown exponentially and organically and rooted in that divine feminine that is sustainable. You know, it really is. It's sustainable, and compassion. And I think we can all agree to this, that compassion is at the root of that, right? All we have to do is hold on to compassion to keep our oars in the water, right? To keep ourself upright. And we, and it's proven here, and you've proven it, and I want to thank you for that. In that spirit, and want to hear from everybody or whomever else would like their voices heard. In that spirit, how might we better support what you're doing with your work? And we're in 56, you know, Martha, actually probably better than I do, because I had no clue what was going on at the level it was going on with regards to women and girls in San Antonio. And so how can we support you with what we do with our platform, leveraging our network and these brilliant minds you hear here today?
You are encouraging Nicole and I. This is absolutely wonderful to feel your energy and to hear of the diversity of things that you're doing. And I've got 2.5 pages of notes with each of your names, and this is a good idea, and this is a good idea. And I want to know more about that. So I thank you. And I, who began as an art, you know, drama dance teacher, I want to mention in passing that as violence increased in Iraq through another woman through a bunch of connections, I got the art of Iraqi children and did many rounds of bringing artwork of Iraqi children here and getting children here to create art and take it to children in Iraq. And I want to affirm the value of the arts in building compassion. And so you're helping me remember that and think I've got to do that some more. And I guess I'm speaking real personally right now, that I can get discouraged, I can get frustrated so easily. And this is helping me remember, lean into the positive, go deeper in self-compassion, compassion for others, gently bringing compassion to systems. So, Nicole, I'll let you speak, but this is wonderful for me so far.
Yes, similarly, I'm writing down so much, and just even being in this room with everyone, I agree with Sister Martha Ann. It's very inspiring. Because even though we are all weavers and we talk about global work and storytelling, I mean, we have to intentionally make these connections. So I really appreciate it. You know, for us, with all of the Girls Global Summit coming up and all of this on my mind, I'm writing down, we're always thinking about how can we amplify what we're doing at the Girls Global Summit. So is there a way that we could do a live link to where people can plug in other cities where you could watch and get ideas for your city? With this year is the first time we're doing out of the summit, we're going to craft a girls' Bill of Rights, and we've already made connections with our now majority female city council, and we're going to be carrying this girls' Bill of Rights to the city council women and taking it to them there. But where else could we take it? I mean, you all have more experience than I do with like the Commission on the Status of Women. I would love to hear any ideas that you have, knowing that these are some of the things that we are really working on. What are some of your ideas with where we could take this, or what we could do with it to amplify it, not just in San Antonio, but around the globe?
I have an immediate answer for that, and hopefully it's a really good one. And then Elaine has had her hand raised. I'll make this very brief, Elaine. We are in a unique position here in the women and girls sector of the Charter for Compassion. We are an appendix. We're actually the womb of the charter. So we are part of the Charter for Compassion, which means we are in that unique position to be able to reach out to all of the City of Compassion organizers and say the women and girls sector fully supports this Bill of Rights, Girls' Bill of Rights. Of course, we have to see it. I don't doubt for a second that it's going to be in perfect alignment. Yet we support this and invite you to embrace it. And then you tell us, what does that mean to embrace it? And what's behind it? It's not just like the charter. You just don't sign the charter and be done with it, right? The work then begins. So yes, we do have some ideas around this. And now I'm going to stop talking, hear from Elaine, and then invite others to chime in.
Thank you, Sandy. And Sandy and I had a conversation about the Girl Scouts, and my question was, do they have a patch for compassion? Well, we looked, and I put in the chat box the link. They have something called a Mindful Girl patch. And this is something where I think, we should, Google this, look at the PDF and say, how would their requirements be for the compassionate girl or maybe the global girl? And this patch would be to help the girls with leadership skills, maybe entrepreneurial skills, and helping people like Joffrey with his girls. So a global girl patch, something in that order that we could kind of champion and maybe use the Mindful Girl patch as a good model of what they have accepted, because I think that patch has been around for a number of years, maybe since 2011 or something like that. But anyway, the point is, they sell cookies, they raise funds. What about more of an entrepreneurial spirit where it's, kind of like girls in business, but for this global compassionate girl who cares about her neighbor, and that's about the golden rule. And it really, I think, ties everything in, because for me, the mindful girl is more about how her emotions are, affecting herself and others and things like that. But this is more of a global girl. It's mind expanding. And I think that with the idea of a micro, finance, something like that, it really takes the girls into a business. I've got my MBA, I've got a PhD, so I really believe in education. And, I think Sister Martha Ann is a good example of that San Antonio started from this strong education where they kept beating the same drum of compassion and peace, and it, like a virus, infected in a good way their community. So now they're a stellar model for compassionate cities. And I think this is, maybe the Girl Scouts, if not them, us reaching out to them, at least us seeing what their patch is like, that they're teaching their girls, and that we can use that, and just maybe the women and girls sector can champion that as a project that we make something, a Global Girl Patch, and then pass that around and get more support with it. Try it out, test it, see how it works, get the feedback from the girls and the Scout leaders, and actually make that something for, you know, like a 2025 or something where we've got another 10 years that we can help these girls get more of a business and finance hat on with a heart. Thank you.
Hey, this is Nancy. I'm going to chime in if you could hear me.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, you probably can't see me because I'm driving, but I love that idea of partnering with Girl Scouts. I'm very interested in that. And yeah, I like that idea a lot. It's not just in business, though. I'm just watching all these debates and seeing what's going on. And we need more women in policy world and healthcare world. So, you know, I love it, and I'm happy to talk further with you about that.
Thank you, Nancy. And I know that you had already shared with us that you were in Brooklyn and that you might not be able to join us today. We're so glad you made it possible to be here. You want to take a minute and introduce yourself to Nicole Toy and to Sister Martha Ann Kirk. And you've gotten the email. I've introduced them a bit to you already. So would you like to tell us who you are and just take a minute to do so?
Sure. Sister Martha Ann was in our group on compassion integrity training. So I do remember. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm becoming a mishmash here of everything. But right now, I'm working on, I just came from a meeting with the Brooklyn Parks Department chair who wants to put a labyrinth in the park. And so I have created a labyrinth here for the New York City parks, and it's an interfaith alliance type of initiative and a healthcare initiative, building inner resilience and resourcing through walking the labyrinth and building concentration, focus skills, all kinds of things. Diminishing thoughts of suicide in middle schoolers was a big research paper that was so interesting. So I've just been doing that. So she called me and took me around to different places in the parks. She has Marine Park, which is huge, and where could we put it, and what, and anyway. So that was very interesting, and I thought to myself that she said we need volunteers, and of course every organization I ever work with never has any money, whatever. And so, you know, it was one of that again, but that was okay because I thought, well, you know, we can partner with some of the girls in the different schools and with churches and different community sectors. So I thought of y'all and thought that it would be good to, I don't know if you could see me, here I am, hi, that it would be good to bring this in as part of the Charter for Compassion Women and Girls Sector project. So I was going to run that by you.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy is a integrated health professional writing legislature to change, you know, to enlighten our legislature, the national, local and national
Compassionate
level.
Congress, but thinking of a Bill of Rights for girls, we need it. And, you know, I say this all the time, Bill of Rights for women and girls in healthcare. They really are sheeple, not people most of the time because they don't know what and they're scared and, you know, really they get overwhelmed with the doctors telling them what to do. And so I really love that too. I'll work on that too.
Well, I invite you all to take a moment. I just want to thank you, Nancy. I just want to take a moment because I noticed Martha Ann also put in here, you know, let's think about amplifying the voices of immigrant children. Now, this is something different. Yeah, and I invite you to save your chats right now if you haven't. I'll also be sending this out. But you can see this is such a fruitful conversation. And fruitful meaning this is achievable stuff, you know, it's something that we can do. We just have to be as consistent and persistent as we possibly can. Risha.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick. Certainly, Sister Martha Ann and Nicole, it is such a pleasure to meet both of you. And we've been talking about, we mentioned several times the words weaving and storytelling. And so I just wanted to invite you to check out Women's Woven Voices Project. Sister Martha Ann, my heart is so connected to yours with the dance and the drama and the art. And the project that I'm doing, I just went ahead and grabbed a panel of a couple things that I'm stitching together. And I wish I had it in the background for you to see, but
oh, good.
These are the story cloths. These are 4 separate story cloths that I've now stitched together. There's literally 200 of them, and sometimes I have it up in the studio behind me, but I don't right now because I packed it up for Saturday. But these, this is someone took, the time to think about what made them the strong women that they are today, what challenges they've overcome, what makes them whole, what makes them feel powerful. And in doing that, the responses I've gotten are that it's a very healing type thing. It's very, gives an opportunity for insight. It really helps people to find their voice. And then the finished product is literally this incredible, Sarah and Sandy can tell you, this incredible, beautiful artwork. It is a visual impact. So I invite you both, if there's any way that you want to incorporate, I send little weaving kits out for free to anybody who wants to participate in the project. Oh, there we go. Here's my website. It has all the information on it. I'm actually in the process of doing a big expansion, so I'll be updating my website soon. But for your students, Sister Martha Ann, if you'd like to have them participate in an international project that's focused on compassion and storytelling, and then also Nicole, if there's any way that the tapestry can be of service, I can send you panels to display at your events, or I'm sure that we could collaborate in many different ways. But I just wanted to throw that out there. And I wanted to say 2 other things. Sister Martha Ann, when you said resilience, that's so important. My whole life has been about creativity, and I think that our divine feminine creativity is one of our superpowers. And I love that you said, well, they just made up doing this laureate thing. Because that's just, every single one of you is just making it up. I mean, you are making up. Let's make up a new badge. Let's make up an ambassador program for the girls section. Let's make up, let's make up having beehives. So I just want to celebrate the creativity of each and every one of you, and that's absolutely, we all not only have permission, but we have responsibility to just keep making it up. And just jumping in and letting our wings grow on the way down and all of those things. So thank you so much for, just all that you've shared today.
Appreciate Donna, you're next. Appreciate, you're so eloquent. And I realize that it's the artists of this work that allow us that playground to explore and to make things up, right?
That's
so
right.
Thank you. Donna, you wanted to say something.
I can find myself here. Brescia, that was brilliant. I wrote that down. I think that quote is going to ring around the world. Not only do we have permission, but we have the responsibility to make up what we need, right? I got to write the rest of that down. And then I have a really quick thing. I'll make this to make up what we need. Okay, what we need. Okay, thank you for going along with my writing. So first thing is that I looked up quickly on my phone. I just go back and forth when I hear things that are like, ooh, got to know about that. Go bookmark that. And so I looked up San Antonia's CRD, Community Resource Directory, and wow, what a full, rich, and just overflowing resource. And I thought, okay, what would that look like for Coeur d'Alene? So CA, CDA, CRD, and I looked up at yours and I was like, man, you guys are missing an E, but that's already implied because like the acronym for your organization spells out sacred.org. And I thought, wow, phenomenal. Woo, that's beautiful. You can just put your own E in for excellent, I guess. So that's fantastic. And then just opening each one of those, like care and education and food, has like 25 other subcategories under that. And if every city had some kind of resource, I'm sure lots of cities have their own resources, but that one's just really beautiful. Jeffrey, what I heard Sister Martha say was something about working with a company in New Zealand doing menstrual cups. And it seems to me like you and I have had conversations about the women. We had a brief conversation about the women being able to wash out their pads and then share them with another woman, because at some point there was not enough of them, and probably still there are not enough of them. And Jeffrey shared back with me that that's tricky in his country because of religious beliefs, or oh darn it, what's the other word I was just thinking of? What's that?
Superstition.
Thank you, superstitions. I was hoping one of you would jump in with that. Yeah, because of superstitions and stuff like that. So I wonder, Jeffrey, how the cup would work for the women in a more sustainable way. You've got, what I believe is a silicone cup, and the cup is just a blood catcher. It inserts into the body, and then, I'm sure you might be familiar with the cups, but it just inserts into the body and then catches it, and it's washable. So you wouldn't have to worry about the cotton. You wouldn't have to worry. You just have to get the girls and women X amount of cups. I don't know, maybe one cup would be enough, but I wonder what do you think about that, Jeffrey, about being seems like it would be much more sustainable to do a menstrual cup than menstrual pads over and over and over.
Yeah, but basically, following the focus group discussion which we have with women and the people around, we have been following the measures to look into how to sustain and also how to make them hygiene enough in a way that they should not have any health problems, Yeah, so that's why we introduced this system of having this kind of, the reusable ones, because it takes a bit longer, 2 years to 3 years to use only one. So if you want to have 6 of them, then it's better enough to use that longer. And the only challenge which I shared last time, I hope I can just come and brief a bit of it. It's about the issue of the soap. Remember last time? Yeah, I said about the soap, that if they are washing without soap, sometimes it brings a smell. So it makes them not to feel comfortable when they're using it. And sometimes if they don't have enough pads, like instead of 6, they have 2, the problem comes like they don't while the issue is dry. It's like before it becomes fully dry, they have to use it. So some of the people who know much about it, like Belinda says, it might bring some bacteria which cannot be healthy enough to a girl. So I can say we are in a system, in a way of looking for the better means of having a good pads, plus that to sustain the program going forward without much challenges, so that we keep our girls in classes. Yeah.
But Jeffrey, are you familiar at all with the cups for menstrual health? I mean, have you seen those menstrual cups?
Basically, I've never seen it, but someone raised up that issue last time, and raised it. And I remember I talked to our women team to look into that kind of things.
Yes.
And they say we cannot find it in Malawi unless if someone gives us full image of how to make.
Right. So they are made of silicone, and there are places in Nairobi that are making them. We partnered with a group out of New Zealand, so we brought 200 cups with us when we went to Kakamega in Kenya. And you might know, because they're so new to a lot of people, it requires a lot of education. And so there's a lot of cross-cultural work that has to go on there. And you rely a lot on women who are community health workers in the communities, because you first really have to get buy-in from people who try it and can do it, and then teach it there. And so that's the kind of work that Women's Global Connection is doing with our groups in Kenya right now. And that's why I really want to talk with you because it's a hard thing even for American women. The cups are new, and I have 3 daughters. They don't use them, and you really have to work with education first. But because they are reusable for years, you can do it in a sanitary way. They're really saying that they're providing hope for people who are living in developing countries.
So that would be very fantastic for us, because like we learn another technology of doing these things. Or what I can prefer to know more is, as you put in place, to have a better education of that first, and how does that involve the environment? Like we choose to use reusable, because the other means they use a part which they throw it when they use it. So it's like everywhere you find parts, so
Yes.
it just spoils the environment.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you can lecture us about this, I can see it will also come as a solution to our women. Because all in all, what we want is to have a sustainable means of keeping girls in the classes and not misses the way they are doing now. Yeah. So thank you for another means. I'm so flexible. I will learn that if you tell me what to do, take it from there. And the other thing is better if we have all resources like locally. If we want to buy material and find locally, then that will be very cheap for us. Yeah.
Right.
I just want to say one thing about the honey cup, it's called. I've used for what, 30 years in my practice. It's a diaphragm, and you just use the diaphragm and you keep it antibacterial and anti-smell free by dipping it in honey, storing it in some natural honey. And it's really wonderful. We've used it forever, and I'm thinking that it's a birth control device. Obviously, it's a diaphragm, and you wear it. You can wear it all the time, actually, and take it in and out, and it helps you to check your cervical mucus. Are you fertile or not? It's very, very good to educate women and girls in many ways about both contraception and their cycle. And it's also a menstrual cup, so that could lend itself to the pharmaceutical people who make them donating. A lot of projects are involved with contraception, Planned Parenthood, or whatever your local organizational people are, OBGYNs, whatever. It might help. You might be getting a lot of donations from that if that's something culturally that's acceptable.
Thank you, Nancy. Coming over kind of, and now I'm hearing myself.
Yeah, because I'm in a wrong space. Sorry.
Okay, no, I'm glad that you had your voice heard. And that's fantastic and great. And if you can send more information on that, I can add that to the report. That would be very helpful. You can see, ladies, how we easily can go an hour and a half. We've gone 3 hours before. We're not going to do that today out of respect of everyone's time. And I want to thank you all. This is the hardest part about what I have to do. I did not sign up for this part of having to stop the conversation. But one thing I did not do in the beginning, and we always do, is a centering opening. And I want to put somebody on the spot right now and ask, and I hope I'm okay in doing this, but I always do it, so you should be on edge anyway. Bracia, would you mind closing this?
I'd be.
And let me just say thank you to Martha Ann and Nicole so much for being here, and we'll continue the conversation online. Thank you, Risha.
So close your eyes. I'm just going to grab an affirmation off my bulletin board here and share it with you. So
Perfect.
take a
Perfect.
deep breath.
Why don't you, everybody take a moment and drop into the chat window your organizational website so I can save the chat.
All right.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. We are too.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful women gathered together today. Here's what I want to leave you with. Wake up. Remember what excites you. Think of these things, those friends, and the adventures that can be yours. Focus, care, fantasize, imagine, make it up. It's all so near. Speak as if you're ready. Paste pictures in your scrapbook, vision board, in your home, in your office. Physically, bodily prepare for the changes that you wish to experience in your life and in the world. You've done this before. You know how it works. You're due for an encore. It's time to amaze. That's why you're here. Amen and love, love, love.
Aho.
Fabulous.
Whew. Thank
Love
you.
it. Send me that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Highest prayer I have to offer is thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, and we'll all be woven together through the email. All right, everybody. Thank you. And thank you again, ladies, for being here. Bye.
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 Chat, save the chat. Okay.
Good
Bye.
chat.
Bye.